My daughter tossed my house keys onto the marble counter like she owned the deed, kicked off her designer sandals, and announced with zero shame, "Nathan expects breakfast at 5 in the morning. He likes eggs Benedict. Clean kitchen. Quiet house. Don't mess it up." Double quotes 20 for hours after that little speech. I was smiling sweetly while grinding natural laxatives into that man's hollandaise sauce like I was seasoning victory. But trust me, that was just the appetizer. The main course. Oh, I had something special prepared for both of them. Before we go any further, welcome to this story. Pull up a chair, baby. Grab your tea. Stay with me until the end because what happened next still leaves people's jaws on the floor. Tell me where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe. My name is Grace Hartwell. I'm 52, black, divorced, and finally at peace. Or at least I was. She arrived at my oceanfront home in Malibu on the kind of morning that God paints slow on purpose, golden sun rising over the water like butter melting on warm toast. The waves rolled in with the rhythm of prayer, steady and soft. Like they'd been here long before me, and would continue long after I'm gone. I sipped dark Haitian coffee on my deck, robe tied loose around my waist, and let the breeze kiss my skin. I worked hard for this sanctuary. Harder than folks know. 5 years since I walked away from a 23-year marriage. 5 years since I caught my ex-husband tangled up with his 21-year-old assistant. 5 years since I decided peace was more precious than property. I didn't fight him for the houses in New York or the condos in Miami. I just asked for this one place, my quiet ocean haven. This house wasn't luxury. It was therapy. It was where I rebuilt myself. Inside, my walls still held a faint square where our wedding photo used to hang. I never covered it. Some empty spaces are supposed to tell their story. My yoga mat was still rolled out from sunrise stretching. Paintbrushes soaking in a mug from yesterday's watercolor attempt. Romance novel flipped over on the couch at a steamy part I didn't have the energy to finish. Messy, quiet, mine. I dialed an old friend, Richard Brennan, a fellow attorney I used to spar with in courtrooms. He answered with that smooth baritone of his. "Grace Hartwell, how's my favorite retired shark?" I smiled. "Retired sharks still have teeth, Richard. We just bite when it's worth it. We talk stocks, legal scams, the news, light things, normal things." I told him a company was promising guaranteed 15% returns. That alone told me someone was either lying now or planning to lie later. We laughed. We hung up. Peace continued. And then, tires crunched through my driveway, gravel too loud for a friendly visit. A black SUV, rental plates. Doors slammed. 3 heavy suitcases banged up my porch steps. My 28-year-old daughter, Megan, walked in without knocking using the spare key I told her was for emergencies, apparently. Her definition of emergency was anything she wanted. "Mom, we're here." I blinked at the stranger behind her. Tall, polished, dark hair with perfect salt and pepper streaks like he'd painted them in on purpose. A smile built to win trust. He carried her luggage like he was auditioning to be someone's favorite son-in-law. "Mama, this is my husband, Nathan." Nathan Cole, husband. I needed a deeper sip of coffee. They'd known each other 6 months. I told her that was too fast. She hung up on me. Now, here he was, standing in my sanctuary with expensive cologne and a Rolex he wanted me to notice. He shook my hand, firm and warm. "Mrs. Hartwell, a pleasure. Megan talks about this house constantly. Does she?" Funny, she never mentioned him, and yet his eyes. They weren't admiring the view. He was assessing value like a broker checking assets. He complimented my windows, my deck, my view, and then slipped in casually. The natural light alone must add significant value to the property, not beautiful home, not water view, but value. My lawyer instincts stretched their legs like they'd been asleep but never gone. I asked, "How long were you planning to stay?" Megan said maybe a few days. Nathan's eyes flickered. He wanted longer. She corrected to maybe a week. A week. To evaluate my life like a bank account. I smiled. Auntie smile. Soft, sweet. Loaded with bullets they can't see yet. That's lovely, I said. Let me prepare the guest room while they unpacked. I watched Nathan walk through my house like a realtor doing inventory. By dinner, they had the nerve to sit on my couch, drinking my wine. And my daughter, my own child, said with absolute calm, Nathan, and I think it might be time for you to move into something smaller. You shouldn't be out here alone. You could sell this place and live comfortably. Nathan knows real estate investing. He can handle everything for you. Double quotes, everything. You know that moment when betrayal tastes metallic in your mouth. When you realize the stranger isn't the threat, your own child is holding the door open for him. I stayed quiet. I stayed gracious. I stayed the fool. On purpose. Because tomorrow morning, when I woke up to make eggs Benedict at 5 a.m., just the way Nathan demanded, I'd already decided, if they came here to take everything from me, they had no idea who they were messing with. What would you do if your own child tried to hand your life over to a stranger? Would you fight quietly like Grace? Or throw them both out? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. I woke up before the sun even bothered to stretch its arms across the Pacific. It was 4:07 a.m. too early for anything except mistakes, prayers, and revenge prepared on a stovetop. Megan's words from last night echoed in my mind like a bad song you can't escape. Nathan thinks we can get you into a safer living situation. Translation, let's take what's yours. You're old. Be grateful. Funny how children who grew up eating off your paycheck suddenly decide you're fragile the moment they see value in your belongings. Nathan requested eggs Benedict at 5 a.m. sharp. Wanted strong coffee too, no sugar. Whole beans only, so particular for a man freeloading in another woman's home. Now, I'm not out here trying to poison anybody. I am a God-fearing woman who also believes natural consequences need natural ingredients. So, I lined up tiny capsules of herbal laxatives, all natural, organic, the kind sold in overpriced health stores. I crushed them with the back of a spoon like I was grinding spices for a Sunday roast. I whisked hollandaise like a woman preparing holy water when Megan asked me to serve him. She forgot who raised her. I don't play servant. I play chess. By 4:50 a.m., the kitchen smelled like buttery arrogance and quiet retaliation. The coffee, dark, rich, bold, and laced with enough cleansing power to purge a lifetime of lies. I plated everything perfectly for him. For my daughter, I made simple scrambled eggs. No vendettas. Just breakfast. By 4:57, I heard Nathan's footsteps, heavy, confident. Like a king coming to claim land he didn't own. He entered wearing a silk robe. My robe, actually, one I hadn't seen in years. He wore it like conquest. Good morning, Grace, he grinned. This looks divine. Morning, I replied sweetly. I aimed to please. He sat, tucked that napkin into his collar like royalty, and took a sip of my specially curated coffee. The man nearly purred. You're a remarkable hostess, he said. Oh, trust me, I nodded. I know. Megan stumbled down afterward, yawning like a baby who doesn't pay bills. Nathan, love. Don't forget she likes her eggs fluffy, Megan said. He kissed her cheek, fake like store-brand syrup, and took another bite. He swallowed greed like seasoning. Then came the first twitch. Barely noticeable. A wrinkle between his brows. A tiny frown like someone whispered bad news to his intestines. Then the stomach massage. You know, the kind, one hand pressing low like he was trying to pacify a demon. He excused himself, trying to maintain dignity, but halfway up the stairs his posture changed. There was no dignity left. His footsteps turned into a sprint. Bathroom door slammed. Megan frowned. Mom, did he eat something weird yesterday? He's very sensitive to funk. I sipped my tea calmly. Oh, well, actions have consequences. Sometimes they just come early. Nathan spent 3 hours making offerings to the porcelain god upstairs. His business calls cancelled. His sharp real estate talk replaced with muffled regret. The man who wanted to control my property couldn't control his own organs. When they rushed him to urgent care, Megan seemed stressed. Mom, I'm sorry things feel tense. Nathan really wants what's best for you. She looked so convinced, so manipulated, so blind. I didn't argue. I don't fight fog, you wait for it to clear. They left at 10 a.m. Their rental car sped off toward the clinic. The house finally grew quiet again. Not peaceful, strategic. I wiped the counter, gathered the plates. Then I walked into the guest room. I didn't search his luggage. That would be too predictable. Instead, I lifted the lining under his suitcase. Scammers never leave documents out in the open. They hide them under false bottoms and fake respect. And oh, baby, I hit the jackpot. A full dossier. On me, photos of my house, my divorce settlement, property value assessments, even notes on my medical records. Small detail they got wrong. I might be older, but I am not fragile. And I definitely don't need anyone's supervision. That's when the second folder made my throat tighten. Megan, my child, had been hunted long before she met him. He studied her habits, her insecurities, her loneliness. He didn't fall in love, he calculated access. Access point, daughter. Purpose, gain entry to primary target Grace Hartwell. My stomach turned, not from guilt, but fury. Fury sharp enough to cut chains a mother protects. Even when her child betrays her out of ignorance, I took photos of everything. Every page, every email, every disgusting strategy. Then I called Richard, my old law buddy. Grace, he said, after hearing everything, you need the FBI, not a lawyer. These are professionals. They hadn't met me yet. Nathan came back from urgent care dry-lipped and shaking like he saw the end of time. Doc said it was food poisoning. He believed it. Because guilty men see punishment where none is announced. Do you need tea, Nathan? I asked. He stared at me suspiciously. The kind of look a wolf gives another wolf when he realizes the other one bites harder. I'll be fine, he muttered. I smiled. Amazing how quickly the body tells the truth. Even when the mind lies. He sat silently. He knew something was off. He didn't know how deep it went. Yet tomorrow would be the day. The day he'd bring a notary. The day he'd expect me to sign away everything. But tomorrow, the real game would begin, not the one he was planning, the one I was setting. Have you ever smiled at someone you knew was lying to your face? How did you handle it? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. But here's the delicious part. Ghosts don't bother the living. They haunt the guilty. By sunset, he had recovered just enough to pretend life was normal. He moved around my kitchen, slow but strategic, like a man trying to regain control of his own story. I stood at the sink rinsing tea leaves when he spoke from behind me. You know, Grace, I've been thinking about your future. That word rolled out of his mouth like it belonged to him. You deserve stability, he continued. Someone to manage your property, protect your interests. I turned around, a soft smile on my lips. And you think you're that someone? His eyes glittered. Not warm, calculating, of course. Megan and I care about you. Care, some words sour in the mouth depending on who says them. I wiped my hands dry on a towel, slow. Respectful, then stepped closer. Nathan, I appreciate you looking out for me, truly, but before I hand over control of anything, I like to understand exactly how it all works. He lit up like a kid offered candy. Predators are always thrilled when they think the prey is curious. That's wonderful. Grace, we can go over everything tomorrow, he said. Carlos will be here at 10 to notarize. Carlos, the man who notarized broken futures. Once that snake crawled off to bed, I made a call using an encrypted line an old colleague sent me years ago. I saved it for emergencies. Funny how emergencies never announce themselves. They just walk through your front door with suitcases. At exactly 9:47 p.m., a woman's voice answered. This is Agent Harrison. We had spoken earlier. But tonight, she didn't sound like the FBI. She sounded like a woman who knows wolves when she sees them. Agent Harrison, I said. He's signing tomorrow, and you're sure you want to go through with being bait? I was a corporate shark for 25 years. I don't mind swimming with minnows, she laughed under her breath. All right. We're setting surveillance in the early morning hours. Cameras will be focused on documents. Audio will record every word. You must act natural. I'd been acting natural since the minute my daughter came home holding hands with this man like he was a gift instead of a parasite. What about Megan? I asked. There was a pause. She is legally a victim too. Manipulated, groomed, used as a tool to access you. Tool, my daughter, the person I birthed, was someone's tool. It burned in my chest like pepper swallowed whole. Not anger at her. Anger at who she trusted. What should I do with her tomorrow? I asked. Keep her unaware. Any change in her behavior could alert him. I thought about that. Keeping her innocent felt like exploiting her innocence, but then again, she had been exploited long before I noticed. Agent Harrison, I said. My daughter deserves the truth. I just need the right moment. Wait until we have evidence that's untouchable, she advised. Then show her everything. Her tone softened, just a little. Grace, we will protect both of you. Silence swallowed the house like deep water. I brewed chamomile tea, knowing sleep would still be a stranger. As I moved through the kitchen, I noticed the faint reflection of myself in the window outlined by moonlight. Robe flowing, hair wrapped, eyes awake. It struck me, I didn't look scared. I looked ready. Funny thing about being a black woman in America, people think we break because we've survived too much. Truth is, we survive too much because we refuse to break. Just as I turned off the light, I heard footsteps upstairs, slow, heavy, unsteady. Nathan. He creaked down the stairs, hand brushing the rail. His face was pale, but his eyes were hunting. Grace. Yes, you didn't put anything in my food earlier, did you? That question right there? That was fear speaking. Fear trying to find a shape. I smiled, not sweet, not cruel, just honest. I cooked what you asked for, Nathan. Nothing more, nothing less. He studied my face for a long time, trying to read it like a contract, but I am no simple document. I am fine print written in a language he never learned. Finally, he nodded. Good night, Grace. Good night, Nathan. He went back upstairs. And I thought to myself, see, you're not worried I poisoned you. You're worried I'm smarter than you. I cooked breakfast as usual, oatmeal, fruit, nothing fancy. Megan kissed Nathan on the cheek like he was a sweetheart, instead of a snake. Thank you again for helping my mom, she whispered to him. Helping. That word stabbed me deeper than betrayal, but patience is a weapon too. Carlos. We'll be here at 10, Nathan said. Sipping coffee like yesterday, hadn't attempted to cleanse his soul through his intestines. I looked at the clock. It was 8:13 a.m. The FBI was already watching. Cameras hidden behind wicker baskets, microphones tucked near ceiling beams. Oven parked just far enough to blend with tourist traffic. Nathan took out a thick leather folder and patted it like a pet. After this, life will be easier for you, Grace, he said. I'm sure, I replied. Megan hugged me from the side. Mom, it really is the right decision, that hug. It wasn't betrayal. It was innocence coerced. I kissed her forehead gently. Baby, right decision or wrong one? Depends on who benefits, she frowned. Didn't understand. Not yet, but she would. At 9:59 a.m. The doorbell rang. Nathan stood tall. Megan smiled. And I simply said, let the show begin. Would you let someone dig their own grave? Or would you stop them before they've fallen? Tell me below. The knock on my door at exactly 10 o'clock a.m. wasn't loud. It was tiny, precise, intentional, like someone trained to never attract attention. That was my first signal. Nathan straightened his shirt collar. Megan tucked her hair behind her ear, nervous but excited. And I stood there smiling like I was serving tea after Sunday service. I opened the door. There he was, Carlos. Short. Quick-moving eyes, suit too cheap to be real business. Briefcase too expensive to belong to him. The kind of man you don't notice until you realize your wallet's missing. Mrs. Heartfelt, he greeted with a warm smile that didn't reach his eyes. A pleasure. The pleasure depends on the outcome, I replied. His smile twitched. Good, he understood. He walked inside, scanning the house like a measuring tape. A practiced routine. Nathan introduced him to Megan, first because manipulators always tried to charm the most trusting in the room. Megan shook his hand eagerly. Something about that made me feel sick. Not because she was naive, but because someone calculated her innocence like a business asset. Carlos set up his briefcase on the dining room table. He spoke softly, professionally, yet everything he said felt rehearsed to sound legit. Just reviewing final documents before Gray signs, Nathan said casually, sliding a folder toward me. My name. My house, my entire life reduced to ink and fine print. I opened the folder. If he thought I wouldn't read it carefully. He didn't know the woman who spent 25 years fighting corporate vultures with pens sharper than knives. The document was titled Property Management and Asset Relocation Agreement, a fancy way of saying, give us your house and we'll pretend you made a smart decision. The lies were hidden beneath polite phrases. Relocation for safety, efficient portfolio structure, limited oversight required. I slowed my breathing. Calm, like a lion watching prey that thinks it's in control. Grace, Nathan said kindly, like a doctor delivering fake hope. What this means is that you'll no longer have to worry about anything. Bills, upkeep, responsibility. Double quotes responsibility. Funny. Word coming from a man who couldn't even handle breakfast. Yesterday, I looked up at him. Soft-eyed, I just want to understand every step. Nathan, could you walk me through? He lit up because nothing excites a scammer like explaining how they're about to steal from you. For 35 minutes, Nathan lectured like a professor of fraud. We'll liquidate assets. We'll retain temporary possession. You'll receive monthly interest. We'll reinvest proceeds. Carlos chimed in every now and then like a choir member echoing solo lines, and Megan. Lord, Megan looked so proud of him. That hurt most. Not the con. Not the documents. But my child admiring the man trying to rob me. Mid-presentation, Nathan reached over and squeezed Megan's hand. Grace, you raised a brilliant woman. I just want to take care of her. And you, a statement constructed perfectly. Not for me. For Megan. She blushed, and in that second, that's when Megan became leverage. Emotional collateral. Just like they planned. I smiled. Oh, I'd never want to be a burden on either of you. Signatures can fix that, right? Carlos brightened. Nathan nodded. Megan squeezed my arm. Exactly, Mom. You're doing the right thing. Right thing. People call poison medicine if you present it beautifully enough. Carlos pulled out a wide, glossy pen. Gold trim, heavy. Not because it was expensive but because it was weighted, used often. Used on victims. He slid it toward me like an offering to a queen. Whenever you're ready. Mrs. Heartfelt, I looked at it, then looked at him. Nathan leaned forward. Grace, all it takes is one signature. One signature. Funny how the end of freedom is quieter than the beginning. I held the pen. Sighed gently. Then paused before I sign. Just a tiny question, I whispered. Nathan tilted his head. What's that? I smiled, sweet as warm honey over cornbread. If this is also beneficial to me, why does Carlos need access to my finances and medical records? Megan blinked. What? Nathan froze. Carlos stopped breathing. There it was, the subtle tripwire. The small question that unravels mountains. I saw movement outside my window, barely a reflection of a navy blue van. The FBI was listening. Time to make Nathan talk. I pushed the document slightly back toward him. Explain that clause to me again, I requested, tapping paragraph 19.2 with a slow finger. Specifically where it says ownership transfers upon liquidation before I receive any funds. Carlos dropped his act first. That is normal. For people your age, there it was. Disrespect is always the first crack in the dam. Nathan rushed to smooth it over. What Carlos means. Grace is that older individuals often struggle with the stress of large estates. We're protecting you from collapse. Double quotes collapse. The word hung heavy. You think I'm fragile? I smiled, not fragile. Just not capable of managing something so valuable alone. Then Nathan made his fatal mistake. If you don't sign now, this opportunity will be gone and so will we. Megan won't help you forever. Let us manage your life while there's still something to manage. My daughter's face drained of color. Nathan. He didn't hear her. He only heard himself winning. That house is sitting wasted in your hands. Grace, let us take it. Let us handle your future. You can't do this without us. There it was. A confession, arrogant, entitled, recorded from every angle. I leaned back, crossed my arms slowly. Oh baby, I could manage this house with my eyes closed. I just wanted you to say what you really think. Nathan blinked. What? I pointed casually toward the kitchen ceiling. You've been speaking directly into federal microphones for the past hour. Carlos stood up, hands shaking. Megan gasped. Mom, what's happening? The door burst open. FBI agents flooded in like judgment. Nathan Cole. Carlos Reyes, you are under arrest for aggravated fraud, elder exploitation, financial coercion, theft by deception. Nathan stood, stunned, choking on air. Grace, you can't do this. I stood too, calm, collected. I didn't do anything. I said softly, you did. If someone tried to take your home, would you play dumb and let them trap themselves? Or kick them out the moment they crossed the line? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. Nathan didn't go down quietly. When the FBI swarmed into the dining room, his mask cracked into something feral. Not sad, not sorry. Just caught. As agents cuffed him, he turned toward Megan, not me. Predators always go for the softest spot. Megan, he begged, voice trembling with fake heartbreak. Tell them they're making a mistake. Tell them you know me. Tell them I would never. She flinched away from him. Not because she believed him. Not anymore. The FBI dragged him out the door as his voice decayed. Into screams. Carlos followed, silent like a shadow exposed to light for the first time. When the front door shut behind them, the house suddenly felt too big, too quiet, too heavy. That's when Megan's knees buckled. She didn't cry pretty. She fell apart like paper set on fire. Mom, what did I do? What did I do? I caught her before she hit the floor, held her tight, tighter than I had in years, tighter than I'd ever held anything I loved that was trying to break. You loved the wrong man, I whispered. That's not a crime. It's a lesson. Her sobs shook both our bodies, waves crashing inside a girl who thought she was grown, and now realized she was unprotected all along. I brought him here. She gasped between tears. I helped him hurt you. I let him use me. I helped him try to take your life. How can you even look at me? I lifted her face gently. Because you didn't know, I said slowly, and because you stopped when you finally saw. She shook her head violently, clutching her stomach. How could I be so stupid? I held her chin, firmly this time. No, you weren't stupid. You were targeted. You were groomed. You were loved strategically. Those words seemed to slice her deeper than anything Nathan ever did. She whispered. He never loved me. Not for a single second. I know, baby. And I loved him so much. I know. She stared into space, hollowed out. How do you heal from loving someone who never existed? I didn't have a neat answer. I just stroked her hair slowly, rhythm like ocean waves. You don't heal by pretending it didn't happen, I finally said. You heal by learning who you were without them. Megan sat at the kitchen table later, wrapped in a blanket. Sipping tea she wasn't really drinking. Her eyes were swollen. Her posture wasn't proud anymore. She looked small, shattered, human. Agent Harrison returned to go over paperwork, evidence, sworn statements. Legal protection for Megan since she had unknowingly assisted in a criminal operation. Megan signed papers with trembling hands. She couldn't even look at her own signature, as if she didn't recognize her own name anymore. When the agent left, silence filled the house again, but this time it wasn't heavy. Just real. Megan whispered, barely audible, "Mom, why didn't you just throw him out the first day? Why pretend? Why host him? Why cook for him?" I breathed deeply, not wanting to answer quickly. Because if I threw him out, he would have targeted someone else. Another woman alone. Another family. Another daughter. Megan's eyes widened, realizing, "You didn't just protect our home." She whispered, "You protected strangers." I nodded slowly. Sometimes, baby, a woman's fight isn't just for her own life, it's for women she will never meet. Her tears came again, but softer this time. Gratitude tears, not grief. She laid her head on the table. "I don't know who I am without him." "You're about to find out," I said gently, "and I think you'll like her." Later, Megan wandered into the guest room, the one she had entered so confidently when she arrived as a wife. Now she stood in it like a stranger. She stared at the empty suitcase Nathan hadn't taken. She stared at the robe he'd worn. She stared at the bedside table he had touched like he owned it. Her voice cracked. "He studied me. He took notes on me. He knew how to talk to me before he ever met me." I stood behind her, hands resting on her shoulders. "That's why predators are successful. They don't seduce who you are. They seduce who you wish you were." Megan whispered, "I wish I was stronger. You're stronger today than you were yesterday." I replied, "That's all strength is." One step at a time, she sat on the bed, staring at her wedding ring. "What do I do with this?" I shrugged. "Melt it, sell it, throw it into the ocean. But whatever you do, don't keep it as a memory. Keep it as a warning." She nodded. Slow, understanding. "What's the warning?" she asked. "That anyone who asks you to shrink is only making space to steal." The next morning, I found Megan sitting on the deck watching the sunrise, still wrapped in a blanket, but sitting upright now, back straight, face calm. The ocean looked like liquid gold. "Mom," she said quietly, "can I stay here for a while?" I smiled. "For a while, baby, this is your home. You never needed permission to exist where you're loved." She exhaled the first peaceful breath she had taken in days. "But I need you to do something for me," I added. "What? While you're here, you're not allowed to disappear into guilt. You help me cook, you help me clean, you help me live. Not because you owe me, but because I want my daughter back." She blinked hard. "You still want me?" I laughed softly. "Girl, you're mine whether you embarrass me, disappoint me, or make me proud. That's motherhood. We don't get to return our children when they break." We sat together, side by side, letting the sun rise on a new chapter neither of us expected. Nathan had stolen time. He had stolen trust. He had stolen affection. But he didn't get what he came for. He didn't get our home. He didn't get our peace. He didn't get the woman who raised Megan. Sometimes a victory isn't loud. Sometimes it's as quiet as two women breathing on a patio at sunrise. And sometimes a win isn't what you gain, it's what you refuse to let go of. Have you ever realized you loved someone who only pretended to love you? How did you heal? Share below. Your story might help someone else. The morning breeze carried the smell of salt across the deck as Megan and I sipped tea. She held her cup with both hands like she needed its warmth to stay grounded. The ocean rolled slow and steady, like nothing in this world was worth rushing. For a short while, we stayed quiet, letting the waves do the talking. There's something about the sea that feels like medicine when your heart has been lied to. Maybe because the ocean never pretends to be something it isn't. It crashes. It roars, it pulls back. And it always comes back again. Megan's voice finally broke the silence. Mom, what happens now? You think Nathan's gone for good? I didn't answer quickly. I wanted to choose my words like tools, not weapons. He's in custody, I said. But men like him don't quit just because they're caught. They think they can talk their way out of anything. Megan's shoulders tensed. You mean he might try to fight the charges? He's not smart enough to fight, I said softly. But he's bold enough to struggle. Bold men don't quit quietly. They try one last thing before they lose. Megan rubbed her face. I don't want to hear from him again, ever. You might, I warned gently. People like Nathan only believe a door is shut when they're locked inside the room. And even then, they scream for someone to open it. Her jaw clenched. She stared at the waves again, breathing slow, steady. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. I let it ring. Megan watched it, eyes wide. Do you think? Let it go to voicemail, I told her, sliding the phone face down on the table. If it's him, we won't feed him attention. Silence is power, baby. Some men only live in the space we give them. We finished our tea. The sun was brighter now. The world had the audacity to keep going. After breakfast, we decided to walk along the beach. No makeup, no shoes, just sunlight and sand. Megan's shoulders began to drop. Her steps got lighter. I could practically see her heart returning to her chest instead of dragging behind her. That's when the phone buzzed again. Same number. I ignored it again. Sometimes peace requires discipline, but the third time it buzzed, it didn't feel random. It felt persistent. It felt familiar, the way a lie keeps calling until you answer. I'll deal with it after our walk, I said. Right now, the ocean gets our attention. Not trouble, Megan nodded, eyes tired but trusting me. We walked. The waves kissed our ankles. Children ran with boogie boards. Joggers passed, headphones in. Life didn't know what happened in our dining room yesterday. Life kept behaving like life. Halfway down the shoreline, Megan whispered, Mom, I don't know how to be myself after this. You don't have to know who you are right now, I answered. Just know who you're not. That's a start. She let that sit inside her like a slow sunrise. When we returned to the house, I played the voicemail with the speaker low. A man's voice, calm, cold, to smooth. Not Nathan. Double quotes Mrs. Hartwell. He said, I represent a certain party who is upset about recent events. I believe you have something that belongs to us. We'll be contacting you soon. Megan froze. That's not Nathan. No, I replied. That's his handler. The ocean outside kept rolling. But the tide, baby. The tide had just shifted. Keep calm and ignore them. Or go on the offensive before they come back. Comment your answer. I'm listening, sugar. The voicemail lingered in the air long after it ended, like cigarette smoke left behind by someone who didn't care enough to open a window. Megan stared at the phone like it might bite. I picked it up and slipped it in my pocket. You said the police have him, she whispered. So how can there be someone else? Because predators rarely hunt alone, I answered. Nathan wasn't the brain. He was the smile. Megan sat slowly on the couch, as if the truth had weight. She pulled her knees up to her chest, resting her chin on top of them. Suddenly she looked like the little girl who used to hide from thunderstorms in my bed. What do they want from us now? She asked. Not us, I said. Me, they think I have something they need. Her eyes flickered with fear. Do you? I didn't answer. Instead, I went to the kitchen, reached inside the cereal box, and pulled out a phone wrapped in a napkin. Not my phone. Nathan's secret phone. The one I'd stolen while he was occupied. Megan gasped, Mom, you still have it? Oh yes. And whoever sent that voicemail wants this more than they ever wanted the house. Megan leaned back against the couch cushions. Then give it back. I don't care about any of it. I just want peace. That's how I know we can't give it back, I replied quietly. If we do, peace won't follow. Fear will. She swallowed hard. So what do we do then? We treat this like any legal negotiation. We don't panic. We don't rush. We don't make the first move. Megan rubbed her arms, trying to warm herself. And what if they do? That question didn't have a gentle answer. So I gave an honest one. Then we'll be ready. The rest of the day felt slow, like time was unsure whether to crawl or run. Megan cooked dinner this time, simple pasta, nothing fancy. She moved quietly in the kitchen, like she was afraid to break anything, even sound. I lit candles, not to make the room pretty, but to calm our breathing. Even light can be a form of armor. We ate mostly in silence, listening to the ocean through the windows. Each wave felt like a warning and a comfort. Then the doorbell rang. Neither of us moved. Neither of us breathed. 3 knocks. Not impatient. Not timid. Just confident. Megan whispered, It's them. I stood slowly. No, it's too early. They wouldn't come without planning. Criminals don't improvise. Idiots do. I looked through the PEPHOLE. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a threat. It was Richard. You okay to see him? I asked Megan. She nodded. Just barely. I opened the door and let him in. He came in wearing a navy suit and concern heavy on his face. He hugged me first, not romantic, not dramatic, just steady. The kind of hug that says, you're not alone even if you think you are. He looked at Megan next. She didn't move, so he didn't force it. He just nodded gently. Agent Harrison called me, he said. She told me there's someone else in this operation. There always is, I replied. You still have the phone? He asked softly. I took it out, placing it on the table between us like it was evidence and poison at the same time. He nodded. That phone isn't just proof. It's leverage. And leverage is dangerous when the wrong people want it back. Megan spoke up, voice small. So what do we do? Richard glanced at me, letting me answer. We don't return anything, I said. We don't respond to unknown calls. We wait for the FBI to request the phone officially. Until then, we pretend it doesn't exist. Richard looked impressed and worried at the same time. So we sit still. We prepare to, I said. Megan frowned. Prepare for what? I picked up the phone, shut it off, and slid it into a Ziploc bag for someone to make a move. And when they do, it won't be a phone call next time. Megan wrapped her arms around herself again. I thought this was over. I sat beside her and took her hand. Baby, sometimes the storm doesn't end when the lightning stops. It ends when the clouds decide they're done. And these clouds aren't done yet. Outside, the ocean roared harder, like it knew something was coming. The waves weren't gentle anymore. They sounded like warnings crashing over each other. Richard poured himself a glass of water, then spoke carefully. There's something you both need to hear, he said. Nathan gave up one name during questioning. Megan stiffened. What name? I asked. Richard looked at us with a face that didn't belong to good news. The handler. He's not just a partner. He has a personal connection to someone in your life. Silence swallowed the room. I waited. Combat braced. Richard continued, voice low. He didn't target you just for your property. Grace, he targeted your daughter first because someone close to her gave information. Long before Nathan showed up, Megan's face turned pale. Someone close to me? She whispered. Richard nodded. The handler. Is someone you know. The ocean outside crashed harder, like it was trying to get into the house. Megan's voice cracked as she asked the only question left. Who is he? Richard didn't speak right away. He looked at Megan like he was scared the truth might split her in half. The ocean wind rattled the windows, and even the house seemed to brace itself. Megan whispered again, softer, as if the question might break if she spoke too loud. "Who is he?" Richard sat down across from us. He folded his hands slow, careful, like the truth might cut him. "The handler is someone who knows your habits, your routines, your spending history. Someone Nathan didn't meet randomly." Megan's eyebrows tightened. "So someone I know introduced me to him?" Richard nodded once. "Someone who had access to your life before Nathan ever showed up. Someone who sold information." Megan's voice cracked. "Who would do that?" Richard exhaled through his nose. "Your former therapist." The room froze. Megan blinked slowly, as if the sentence needed translation. "Dr. Abel." Richard nodded. "He sold client records to financial predators. People trusted him with their trauma, and he used it to match victims with con artists who knew how to manipulate exactly what they were missing." Megan covered her face with both hands. Silent at first. Then a sound cracked out, not crying, not anger. Something deeper. A broken laugh cut with pain. "I trusted him," she whispered. "I told him everything. I paid him to understand me, and he sold you," I said quietly. Piece by piece, Megan's tears came again, but they were different this time, not soft like earlier. These were sharp. These tears weren't from sadness anymore. They were from clarity. I told him I wanted someone responsible. I told him I was tired of men who didn't take life seriously. I told him I wanted someone who had goals. I told him I wanted love that didn't feel heavy, and he took your wishes," Richard said, "and gave them to a predator who knew how to pretend to be exactly what you described. He studied my loneliness," she whispered, "and sold it." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "People who don't love you don't have to hate you, Megan. They just don't care what happens to you once they've taken what they want." She looked at me through tears. "How do I stop blaming myself?" "You don't blame yourself," I said. "You blame the ones who wanted to profit from your vulnerability. And then you forgive yourself for believing in something you should have been able to trust." It was quiet for a long moment. The ocean calmed a little, waves slowing like they were listening. Megan finally straightened her back, wiping her face with the sleeve of her sweater. "What happens to him?" "The therapist. He's already under investigation," Richard said. "Nathan's arrest triggered a chain. The FBI is pulling records, subpoenas are being issued. He's going down, hard, and so are the others connected to him." Megan swallowed. "Good," just one word. Not bitter, not loud. Just solid, final. Richard stood. "Once the FBI takes Nathan's phone into evidence, you'll be safe. Until then, you two should stay here. Don't travel. Don't answer calls. Don't engage with anyone unknown." Megan nodded. I nodded. We didn't need more instructions. Survival doesn't need conversation, it just needs decision. After Richard left, Megan stood at the sliding door, watching the ocean again. The sun had dropped low, painting orange and pink across the sky. She spoke without turning around. "Mom, do you think I'll ever trust anyone again?" "Eventually," I said. "Trust isn't something you give freely anymore. It's something you let people earn." She exhaled slowly. "Good, I don't want to be easy to manipulate ever again." "You won't be," I said. "Not after this." We stepped onto the deck together. The breeze was warm now, not sharp like earlier. Megan leaned her head on my shoulder, small gesture, but heavy with meaning. "I'm sorry." "Mom," she murmured. "I know," I said, "but you're still here," she whispered. "I always will be," and that was the truth. Not because motherhood demands perfection, but because love doesn't leave just because a storm passed through the house. A mother doesn't protect a child because they deserve it. She protects them because they are hers. Megan wiped the last tear she had left in her for that day. "Tomorrow," she said quietly, "I want to help you repaint the guest room." I smiled. "All right." Fresh walls never hurt anybody, and she added, maybe we can plant something in the garden. Something that grows slow, something that lasts. I agreed. The waves rolled in and out like steady breaths. The sky dimmed, and for the first time in days, the future didn't feel like a threat. It felt like something we could build, slowly, on purpose. Together. Because the house was never the prize. The peace was, and no one was taking that from us again. If you were Megan, what would you do first after escaping that kind of fake love? Heal alone, find yourself, or learn how to recognize real love? Comment below, baby. I'm watching.